Review of Loren Wilshire by Jason Marler. Um, where were you born and raised?
I was born in Jenks, Oklahoma, and I spent 9 years of my life in Oklahoma around Sapulpa, Jenks, and Okmulgee.
Um,
Do I have to get in detail, or is that enough to tell? I forgot I'm recording.
It's alright. You can go into detail if you want.
Oh, well, after 9 years, we moved to Indiana, and I've been in Indiana ever since.
Okay.
Okay.
And were you drafted or did you enlist into the service?
I was drafted.
You were drafted.
I was drafted.
And when was it that you were initially sent off to boot camp or training?
September of 1944.
Okay. What? It was World War II that you were involved with, right?
World War II.
All right. Where was the location of your boot camp or training?
Camp Walters, Texas. I took 13 weeks at Camp Walters.
Camp Walters?
Camp Walters, Texas.
All right. And do you remember any of your drill instructors or how they acted or what?
I don't remember any names. They was a bunch of hard-nosed so-and-sos.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. They could care less what you thought.
Yeah.
They was it, and they wanted you to understand that. Yeah.
And how long was your training? How long did it last?
13 weeks.
13 weeks?
13 weeks.
Is that like standard for everybody? Or?
That was the standard for
Okay. Was it the Army that you were in? Or?
Yeah, I was in the 25th Division.
25th Division?
25th Division.
Okay. And what was the first location that you were sent off to, like your first mission?
Overseas?
Yeah.
The Philippine Islands. We lit in the Philippine Islands. Went over with old Liberty boat. Had several Liberty boats at that time, and all the enlistees, most of them went over in Liberty boats. They was old rickety ships. They were real cheap ships that the Army had built for nothing but transporting troops back and forth.
They were just built for transporting?
Just built for transporting.
And what was your initial reaction when you first arrived in the Philippines?
In the Philippines, I thought sometimes this surely can't be. Very dirty. Most of those Filipinos were dirty.
It was like a really poor country?
They were poor, very poor.
And like, what was it that you were over there doing? Like, what was your mission?
Well, we had a little more training in the Philippines, different camps. And then we went to more of the islands over in there. But the Philippines was the first one, and then I made 3 beachhead landings in the second assault. I wasn't on the first wave.
Okay.
But I made 3 of them. Leyte, Luzon, and New Caledonia. I made 3 beachhead landings.
Leyte,
Luzon, New Caledonia.
New Caledonia. All right. Were you with like a platoon? How big was your platoon? How many people were in it?
I forget how big they were, Jason. Now I forget how many was in a platoon, and then you had battalions. And I forget the figures in either one of them.
Okay. When was it that you originally saw combat?
I saw combat within 3 months after I got over there and got out of the Philippines, and what further training we took. About 3 months I saw some combat.
Tell me about a few of your most memorable moments while you were enlisted.
Well, my most memorable one was we were on Banzai Ridge. It was called Banzai Ridge, and the Japs were all dug in up there. And the initial assault had been made on them, but we were sent in to clean them up. And the original assault platoons never got half of them, so we were up there. That's when I got my Purple Heart. So they got a big hump taken out of my back with us. They threw a hand grenade and it lit my foxhole. We dug in with them up there on that hill. And that was the first combat really I saw.
So the first combat you saw, that's when you got the Purple Heart?
That's when we got the Purple
Wow.
Heart. Yeah.
And like, did you have any like a friend that you were friends with throughout the time that you have any experiences that you'd like to share, like a friend? Or...
I had 3 friends that got killed. The first thing to learn in wartime, and they'll tell you, is old Mother Earth is your best protector. Mm-hmm. Stay down, 2 words. And I had 3 friends that got killed. One of them was celebrating a birthday party. His mother had sent him a big cake, and we was sitting up there. This was off of Banzai Ridge a little ways, and a sniper got him, and it got 2 of my other friends. I cannot recall either 3 names. Mm-hmm. I forget their names. They was good buddies.
Yep. Was the Purple Heart? Is that what you said you received?
Yeah, and then I
what
got.
Else, yeah. Were there any other medals or recognitions that you were awarded with?
I got 2 Bronze Stars.
2 Bronze Stars.
Yeah.
And like, how do you get those?
That's meteoric action and at the front lines, more or less. I was designated with a BAR, they call it, a Browning Automatic Rifle.
Uh-huh.
The magazine held 20 rounds, and it was automatic or single shot. If you held that trigger just a second, put out 20 shells right now in a magazine.
Mm-hmm.
I always had a bandolier man go with me. He carried 48 magazines. They were real heavy. And then I always carried 6 or 7 usually. But that was my prime target. I was in the infantry, and that BAR was my baby all time I was in the Army.
Mm-hmm.
And we made several cave entrances over there in those islands. So the Japs were dug in, and then they had a stranglehold on those caves, because they're there before we ever seen the place. And I was always only going on a patrol, and the patrol was in a triangle. I was always the head of the patrol. You had men back here, see? And I really never, I can say truthfully, I never got shot at from the entrance to those caves.
Wow.
But some of them did, but I never did.
That's good.
Yes, very good.
How did you, were you married at the time?
No, I wasn't married.
No,
I wasn't married.
Did you have, a girlfriend or whatever, or how did you keep in touch with your
I had a girlfriend back here, and I neglected writing her something. I got a Dear John letter from her one time. So I broke out of it. No, I wasn't married. Or
did you, how did you keep in touch with your,
your
family, your brothers or sisters?
It took some time, 6 weeks for the letter to get back and forth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have a base where you stayed for most of your time on the islands, or did you?
Yeah, I forget what they called those bases though, but
what was the living conditions?
The living conditions weren't too good when you were in the field, they say, because I went 27 days once and never shaved, and then when I did shave, I shaved in cold water and a steel helmet. That was real interesting.
I bet.
Yes.
Did you guys eat the dry food that they serve, or what kind of food did you eat?
We had C and D rations, mostly what we lived on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. D ration, that was more or less just a chocolate bar.
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3 chocolate bars maybe, and then the C ration was old Spam and stuff, but it's canned up.
Yeah.
Not too nutritious.
What'd you do when you weren't on patrol or whatever on your spare time?
You rested mostly.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't rest too much. They kept you pretty well on the march.
Yeah.
On the go.
What time do you ever remember a time when you had to get up in the middle of the night because of any reason, or because someone thought?
Oh yeah, a few times, Jason. One time we were camped in along a big creek, and we knew the Japs were down the way here about a mile.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we were dug in right along the shore, and one night we was sitting there, and man, you heard the awfulest noise, and they were jabbering among themselves. They was coming at us, see. Down there, it was in the creek. It wasn't very deep. The water wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of them started up there right by my foxhole, and the moon was about a half a moon. You could see the outline of him. And the next morning I shot, and I put 17 holes out of 20, so I hit him pretty well. As far as I know, that's the only one that I ever remember really tackling.
Yeah.
Killed the fellow, yeah.
Yep. Is the Philippines the only place that you saw during like your enlistment period?
No, well, I made those 3 beachhead landings, but we didn't stay there very long.
Okay, but
the Philippines more or less headquarters.
Okay.
We was there really more than anywhere else. Yeah.
Do you what's the most interesting place that you remember seeing? Do you ever remember seeing somewhere that sticks out in your mind? Like
after the
war, really nice?
After the war, I saw where the atomic bomb hit over in Japan. Now that was a sad affair. Oh my! One thing with the Filipinos and the Japs, either one, they had no mercy for their own people. I've seen old lady. I saw one old lady in particular one time. We was patrolling this city, and she was on that particular corner about 3 weeks. Finally, one day, I didn't see her. So I asked the superior officer, I said, what happened to the old lady that we used to always see? She's always begging for food or something. Also, she said somebody come along there one morning and they kicked her on out in the street and somebody'd run over her. And then they just picked her up. I don't know what they done with her, but that's the way they were. They had no feeling for anybody.
Yeah.
They were very mean. Very mean.
It was probably hard to fight someone like that.
Yes, very hard. Very hard. Yeah.
Like, do you ever remember like seeing any kids or women fighting? Or was
no, but at that time we were when we first went over there. Well, we were off limits to their taverns or their coffee shops or whatever it was. See, well, they got so they would let us in, but they never really
accepted.
No, they never accepted us. No, never really accepted us. All the time I was over there, at least, never took to us.
Like was there did you ever come like face to face with a Philippine or a Japanese?
Well, the Jap?
Yeah. Right. Like,
yeah.
What happened with that?
We've took some prisoners before. Yeah.
Were you ever close to, or did you ever get taken captive, or were you ever close?
No, never was taken captive.
Okay.
Never was.
What's another not memorable, but like a nice a good memory that you have, like a humorous moment or something that did that ever, like, do you remember anything like that ever?
Well, I really don't know of any too humorous. It was a humorous moment maybe when they declared the war over. Jason. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a pretty humorous moment for us. 3 months after they declared the war over, I pulled military police duty in Osaka, Japan, and even then, some of the Japs didn't take to us too good then. Not the army in particular, because there was very few of them left, but the Japs lived in very primitive conditions to what we did. We were really millionaires in our own right. But
yeah, after the war was declared over, like, do you remember where you were at or what you were doing once
they
declared it over?
I was back in the Philippines when the war was declared over.
And
then I went to, they sent me to Osaka, Japan for 3 months,
mhm.
and I was in the MPs. But we had it made then. We ate good. And,
Yeah, like what were like some of the things that you had to do when you were in military police?
well,
in
you
Japan?
had to kind of keep the Japanese straight, you know, for one
Mhm.
thing. And our own boys, they got out of hand sometimes. But
Mhm.
we were not too rough on them.
Yeah.
They've been through the same meal we had, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Outside of that, well, they got along with them pretty good.
like after you're done with the service, like what would you do? Once you're done with the military altogether? Like
I came back. You mean when I came back?
yeah, like
Oh,
what like what'd you do when you came back and
when
how
I
was it?
came back to Oakland, California, landed in
Uh-huh.
Oakland, California, and I had a job at Bell Fiber within 6 weeks after I got back.
So like people were like really welcomed you
Yeah,
back, and
yeah, they welcomed us all back. You bet.
it was easy for you to get back into
Yeah, it
society
was.
and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah, I didn't have no problem.
Mhm.
But I think the longer you stay in the service, while I have ever talked to anyone, they have more trouble accepting. Maybe not more trouble accepting you, but you have more trouble accepting them. Some of them
Yeah.
because you're used to that strict GI discipline, and it's tough. I've talked to guys that's been in 20 years, and they don't know what to do with themselves sometimes.
Mhm.
But I didn't have no problem.
Was there is there anything um hold on. Is there any advice that you'd like to give someone going into the service or thinking about going into the
I think
military?
I think they should consider real close and weigh the options of Air Force, Army, or Marines. Marines is a good outfit.
Mhm.
Tough training, tough basics. The Marines. The Air Force is a good outfit. They eat good. They always usually got a good bed to sleep in the Air
Mhm.
Force.
Mhm.
But the old infantry was the I don't know how to put it, Jason, but they was low on the totem pole when it
Yeah.
come to living real well. You know, they was
They
the
got the
old
lowest
boys.
standards.
Yeah, they really had it tough. There's no doubt about it. And no matter how many bombs you drop, how many planes fly over and protect you, the old boy always has to mop them up.
Uh-huh.
He's a ground boy. Yeah, and it's a dangerous game. Just like we've lost 160, I think it is, in this war. Lost one yesterday from Anderson.
Mhm.
And
In the Iraqi war?
yeah, in the Iraqi
Yeah.
war, I think 160 is the ballpark figure of them.
Mhm.
And those fellows were about all infantrymen.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're about all infantrymen. Because they were cleaning up Baghdad and all those little cities around
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
is there anything else that you'd like to add that I haven't already asked you, or?
Oh, I never thought the service would be for me. It was strictly GI, and you learn. You either they always told you the first day you went in. Them all you was talking about those old staff sergeants and them guys. See, most of those guys were regular Army.
Mhm.
Well, these recruits come through there for 13 weeks, and here come another batch. Well, they didn't care for you because they wouldn't see you again anyway, maybe. But
Yeah.
they always told you, they said, we can't make you do anything, but we can sure as the devil make you wish you had done it.
Mhm.
And they got rank with you. It's right up in your post
Mhm.
face, and they meant what they said.
Mhm.
Yeah. They can't make you do anything, but they can make you wish you had done it.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you one thing. I remember this. In the barracks there where we stayed, if you messed up, the first thing they wanted to do was dig a hole 6 foot deep, 6 foot long, six six four, six, see,
Mhm.
six, and if they saw you drop a cigarette butt, grind it in the ground,
Uh huh.
you peel stripped all cigarettes, tore them apart, When the tobacco sifted out, you wadded the paper up and threw it down. Nobody any the wiser. But one day I seen a colonel. I was on the other side of the street, and they had a six started. Somebody did, and that old colonel saw that kid. And I heard once he was there 6 weeks after all of his troops, battalion or whatever it was, left, and he's still digging in that hole for grinding a cigarette. The colonel saw him.
Because they didn't want people.
Oh no, they could get nasty. There's no doubt of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
Is that it?
I think that pretty well covers me.
Yep.